Well, our special focus this morning in a shocking turn of events in Mumbai, 7 dargahs, including the iconic Haji Ali Dargah, have shut their doors on women. Its trust says, according to the Sharia, it's un-Islamic for women to visit graves. But liberal Muslims, many of them women, say they have slammed the move, calling it discriminatory and regressive.
जो सैंक्टम सेंक्टोरम है, उसके अंदर औरतों को अलाउड नहीं है।
मज़हब के नाम पर मज़हब को बदनाम करते हुए औरतों को पीछे रखना चाहते हैं, तो ये सरासर भेदभाव है, अन-इस्लामिक है।
तो हम शरीयत के हिसाब से उस चीज़ को करेक्शन की है।
सवाल ये है कि किसकी शरीयत और ये शरीयत का इंटरप्रिटेशन कौन करता है।
One of Mumbai's most iconic landmarks and symbols of inclusivity, the Dargah of the 15th century Sufi saint Sayyid Pir Haji Ali Shah Bukhari, now at the center of a raging controversy. Popularly known as the Haji Ali Dargah, where people from across the world, across all religions offer their prayers, has shut its doors on women. The reason, they say, because Islam forbids women from visiting graves.
ये शरीयन कानून है, औरतों को दरगाह में जाना कतई हराम है, जायज नहीं है.
And it's not just Haji Ali. 7 other dargahs have welcomed the decision, though some have opposed it.
इस दौर के हिसाब से जितने बिल्कुल मुकम्मल सख्ती नहीं कर सकते हैं इस दौर के हिसाब से.
With the trust adamant on not reversing its decision, liberal Muslims say they will now move the courts. With Dharmendra Tiwari in Mumbai, Tejas Mehta for NDTV.
Well, that brings us to our special discussion on that issue. And joining us in studio, Sadia Delvi, well-known media person who's authored several books on Sufism, and also Maulana Maqsood ul Hasan Kazmi, chairman of the Imam Council of India. Sadia, first what is your reaction to this? The liberals are up in arms, women saying it's a regressive move, it'll fuel Islamophobia.
Well, you know, as I understand it, there have usually been different traditions at different dargahs. For instance, let's take the biggest dargah in South Asia, which is Ajmer Sharif Khwaja Gharib Nawaz. Women are allowed inside and there's never been a restriction to date. Again, if you look at his disciple, Khwaja Bakhtiyar Kaki in Mehrauli, and then there was Baba Farid, and then there is Hazrat Nizamuddin Aulia, who's a disciple of Baba Farid, from the same line of Chishti Sufi masters. Women are not allowed inside. Now, I think, you know, these are traditions that come from centuries, and they should be honored. And
so you don't have a problem with it?
No, what I'm saying is that if there are people, you know, if that has been the way, then one should respect it. But what happens is suddenly if Ajmer was to close its door, yes, that would not be acceptable. So similarly, I'm coming back to your main story about Haji Ali. If their doors have traditionally been open, then to suddenly close it to women is inappropriate and is regressive. I think it is obviously some growing Saudi, you know, radical Wahhabi influence on a lot of
in fact,
Muslims.
that's what many are speaking about, the Wahhabi influence.
And you know, and then when we come to about this gentleman just said that women are not allowed into the, you know, into the grave areas. Now, there are different interpretations of the Sharia, but again, I think my friend here will bear me out. There is a paranoia in certain radical, extreme elements of Muslim opinion and Muslim societies and communities, where they say it's a sin to go near the grave. Yes, the Prophet did rule it out at one point, because in pre-Islamic Arabia, the women would wail and scream and, you know, cry and holler and, you know, actually meet there to have a crying and wailing and, you know, grieving functions, literally, you know, chest beating and all that. Later, the Prophet did allow that, because by that time the society had reformed itself and there wasn't that kind of pre-Islamic functions over, you know, around the death ceremony. And we have enough evidence that the Prophet's youngest wife, Aisha, she used to often go to the graveyard with him. In fact, on the 15th of Shaban, which is Shab-e Barat, is celebrated, there are enough hadiths, which are sayings and records of the Prophet, sayings and actions, that she was with him in the graveyard on the 15th of where women, which has become a tradition, and all Muslim men and women, a lot of them visit graveyards on those days. And also I'll just tell you, there's also women's dargahs. Now in some women's dargah, like the dargah of my Sahiba in Delhi, which is the mother of Hazrat Nizamuddin Aulia, men are allowed inside. And in the dargah of Bibi Fatma Sam in Delhi, the men are allowed inside. Yet at the Mehrauli complex, there is a dargah of Khaja Qutub's wet nurse called Dai Sahiba. Men are not allowed inside. So it's, you know, it's about tradition, but I think tradition should be honored, but yet tradition should not, it shouldn't suddenly, you know, change. Right. I think in fact
let's
become
ask
more and
Kazmi
more
ji for
open.
his reaction to this. So what do you have to say about this? And 7 other dargahs have also followed the example.
I know this is not new. This is not nothing. This is nothing new here. In Nizamuddin and Khwaja Bakhtiar Kaki and so many other
But Haji Ali,
dargahs.
it's only recently been implemented, this banning of women.
I would like to say, dargah, graveyards are not place for worship. Yes, you can go there, you can recite Quran there, you can make dua there. It is not for worship. We only worship.
I don't know what you understand. I'm sorry, I differ with you. I don't know what your understanding of worship is.
No, worship. I will. So,
yes.
But we also go, women and male and female also go both to Makkah, to Medina. There is no restriction. And Medina, the graveyard Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is called Roza. In Roza, there are barricades there. Nobody can touch the bal of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is equally for men.
I'm sorry,
for male
I
or
think
male,
our friend
women.
is not from
so
the
I would
Sufi
like,
tradition.
Let me complete.
You're not from the Sufi tradition. It has all been very recently done. No, what he's saying is completely Wahhabi, Sufi,
No, I'm not.
Saudi.
I'm
All
not.
right,
No, no.
change
I think he's coming to his point.
Let me
Let's hear what he
complete. Let me
said.
complete.
ये तो बदल दिया
Let
उन्होंने.
me complete.
ऐसा नहीं
So,
था.
there is no restriction. They have not singled out women there. In this dargah particular case, I object this action. I do not support that. If you put restrictions on the women, why not you put restrictions on the male as well? Why to single out female?
So you don't support this move by Haji
but-
Ali and the 7 other dargahs?
No, I
in
don't
Mumbai?
support, but I suggest that.
Because he's not treating the dargahs as sacred spaces to begin with.
No, I know.
No, but that's what I understand.
Dargah are not for the worshipping. Dargah, you can go.
That's a different point.
So we're
altogether.
getting into a different debate here.
Women are allowed to go in dargah. And this the committee which has given an order, it has said, it has not banned. It had not banned equally, the women cannot enter the dargah. Women can enter in the dargah, but they cannot cannot cross that barricade.
What do you say about Khwaja Garib Nawaz? वहाँ जाते हैं सब.
But the same should also be applied on male as well. That's my point.
You feel men should also not be allowed
Yes.
in the
Men
sanctum
should be allowed.
sanctorum?
Yes. Men equally should not be allowed to cross that border which we have created.
Why?
Because it can go to the worship.
See, that's a different thing. Here I'm catching my friend here. I think you're the wrong man for this debate. I'm sorry, because he's obviously negating these spaces as sacred spaces. So he's saying nobody should go to the dargah and they should just be viewed as monuments.
Oh, well, let's talk
I'm
about
sorry, that's a different debate.
About the image of Sufism as inclusiveness. Does that now take a hit with this?
No, I'm sorry. This is something which is very, very Saudi inspired. People used to, my mother and my elders remember going to Medina and Makkah to the graveyards. They were the most beautiful historical graveyards. Janatul Baqi in Medina. Munawwara. One second, sir. One second.
Permissible.
And in Makkah you had Janatul Mawla. They were filled with. They had the most richest of Islamic heritage of history. All that has been bulldozed by the Saudis, and now it was so frustrating. One second, when I went to Medina, and you cannot
that demolition.
One second,
we don't support them. We don't support that type.
And you, but now they have. What I'm trying to say is they have created these barricades, and now as women, you can literally just look and you cannot even enter the graveyard.
Okay,
So it's a very, very
other
Saudi,
point many are
it's a very
raising
neo-Islam,
is today you have women banned. Suddenly this ban is brought about against women entering the sanctum sanctorum. People think tomorrow maybe non-Muslims will not be allowed, and then that's another fear.
Well, that's never happened traditionally at Dargah spaces. They've always
Sure,
been very
sure, but
inclusive and very open to women, and you
my
find
point-
all kinds
my
of.
point is that,
you know,
yeah.
I think that it largely my own as a seeker of the path. And I really, I don't really, it doesn't matter to me sometimes, like Hazrat Nizamuddin Auli, I'm not allowed inside, and that's the tradition for 700 years, and I respect it. But I know he listens to me from the outside, so it's all right. They look at the heart eventually, you know, I mean, God looks at the heart, and so do the Sufis look at the heart. And I believe it's that every dargah represents the, you know, the desire and the of the Sufi. I mean, it reflects their personality, how
All right,
close
but coming
what
back
they
to
desire.
like,
you know,
obviously in Mumbai,
So-
many of the activists are very upset. The liberals, they're calling this regressive, saying it'll just fuel Islamophobia. It'll give a stick
I think
to
these
those
are
who
radical
say,
elements that have come into the Dargah committee, and that's inner politics.
and they plan
of
to
the
take this
Dargah
to
committee.
court now, since the Dargah committee is very, very firm that it's not going to allow this. And do you think that in itself will fuel
You know,
another
Dargah
controversy?
committees are all very political, let me tell you. The people are appointed by politicians, and they, you know, because they like to have a hold. So I have no real, you know, respect for the Dargah committees as such, as being above board completely, above all kinds of corruption, whether it is moral or financial, you know. I mean, you know, it's all right. These are all political appointments. And when you have politics coming into these sacred spaces, and then, you know, religion
So
is
you think it's more
misappropriated,
politics
of course it
related,
is
right.
political.
It's
Because
all
then
a
you're
political
keeping a
move.
hold, you appoint somebody, and then, you know, use that.
All right,
so it's an
Kazmi-
extension
No, no,
of
I-
Kazmi ji, final word from
First
you.
of all, I highly object the statement my sister made to Wahhabism. I very, very openly declare there, we also don't support Wahhabism. The type of religion they are adopting in Saudi Arabia, we are very much opposed to that. But as far as the Dargah is concerned and going over there is concerned, the same rule and regulation be applied for male as well. That's our point. And this time, this time,
is something completely new. मतलब आप उसको मानते हैं दरगाहों पे, आप कह रहे हैं इबादत की जगह ही नहीं है वो, तो फिर आपसे बात ही क्या की जाए?
I can.
That's a completely different view that
bow
men
down,
and women
He's
should
saying
bow
men also
down
should
to the
to bow
sanctum
down, to
sanctorum.
prostrate,
Yeah.
to make sajda. It's not. It cannot be permissible
So,
in
you know,
Islam.
you're debating, you're
It
talking
cannot
with
be
somebody who
permissible.
doesn't really honor, respect,
No,
and
we
believe
also
in the
go.
Dargah
We also
tradition.
go. We also go. Our women also go to Dargah, but they don't pray there. They recite Quran
So
there.
he's saying these
they
are
make
monuments
dua
and-
there,
and
but
Alright,
they
so you have a
cannot
different-
prostrate. They cannot bow down. Like Islam is so sensitive regarding this matter. Whenever you go to the namaz janaza, funeral prayer.
Right, sir.
Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, God has abolished the sajda and ruku from there, because
You know, there are different interpretations.
No,
It's not
how can
sajda.
you?
Nobody does sajda. It's called qadam.
Alright, so
Mostly.
still
very, very
it's a
sensitive
very, very
matter.
complex
Very, very
debate
sensitive
and
But yes, coming
different
back to
views.
the point,
Very-
I
it's a very
definitely
sensitive
saying
matter.
that the Dargah committees of these Haji Ali and others should really become more inclusive and should not suddenly change things, because that is inappropriate.
And that is what has really created the
and
storm and, you know, the anger of people
you
against this
you cannot
move by a
impose that.
Sufi
Yes,
Dargah.
it is not so easy to bar them from
All
that.
right, but
but
we're completely out of time. Kazmi ji, thank you so much for joining us, and Sadia for coming in and giving us your views there.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.